So my question to you is, what is the primary motivation of companies to participate? So all the people you have heard so far, is it because they are already really good and they just see this as a kind of an alternative way of, showing off their dynamism to the world and taking part in a competition, basic meaning that they are already like really engaged in engagement. It could also be that they say like, well, we're really keen on finding out new methods. So really the learning, and we're doing a good job, but we just want to know what alternative ways there are and tools and methods and knowledge and so on. Or the people, third category, those who really acknowledge, let's say, the problem, who actually dare to say that there are issues keeping their talent, keeping people motivated on board, and especially in these challenging times, of course, but who really dare to say like, we have a must, must look into this. But that's my question to you. So in what category do you...
Yeah, there's different types. I mean, it's a very good question. What we are looking for is companies who show their vulnerability. Because we all know that nobody is perfect. That's the whole point. So we don't want the companies who just want the bragging rights. We're looking for the companies who want to build an ecosystem with us to really understand the problem first. So to really understand what are the different dimensions that have an effect on employee engagement. And so the companies that I've spoken so far here in Dubai, all of them get that, and they're very enthusiastic about it. So of course everybody wants to win an award, but that is not the real, of course, winning awards is great, especially here in this region, but it's more about, let's learn from each other, let's create an ecosystem, let's get to know my peers in other companies because they have issues, I can reach out to them, I can help them, and vice versa. So that's, and the companies that are now interested, they're all the same, they all want that.
Yeah, but that's good, that's a healthy motivation. So no, very happy.
So Olaf, tell me a little bit about you, because everybody's like, who is this Olaf guy? He looks like a professor. I tell them, well, he is.
I'm sorry.
And what is he all about? Because you're going to be the coach. Maybe I can say that you're going to be one of the coaches in the DNA challenge, as we call it. So maybe you can explain a little bit about your background, who you are, what you do, and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, that's great. So I am Olaf. Yeah, in the background, that is my working place in Belgium. So that is, we have blue in the sky, not in the sea, but we have white on the soil, so no sand. But okay, this is, so just to kind of counterbalance your Dubai climate. So I'm Olaf. I'm indeed a science man, which I apologize for, but I'm gonna try and explain what that entails. So don't be afraid, don't run away. And I'm a foundational psychologist. So meaning that I have studied, for instance, what is the meaning of trust and loyalty and commitment? What does it mean to people? But especially, how does it change meaning over time? So it's not even fixed. So it's something that is very volatile, and we all want trust, but basically what it means to get trust changes all the time and so on. So, but that is my scientific background. In a more applied science, my contribution and that of my team was that we found that it's possible to switch people from a passive observer position into an active participant position in no time. So meaning, when we talk about engagement, people leaning in, people committing, people endorsing the good causes and projects of a company, then we always say like, well, this is going to take time and it takes 6 months. Well, I and my team believe that it takes 6 minutes. So the question then is, what do you need to say to people for them to switch position? And that is what cognition is about. Cognition is about the schemas that are in our head, and the switches. And there can be a switch of disengagement and say like, look, I'm not going to work with these guys. Or there can be engagement switch where you say like, I love these guys and they can count on me. And now the interesting thing is, it's just a switch, and it just takes a few lines of interaction to change that switch. So it's basically a magical thing. So how can you just switch people? So, and that's what cognition is about. Now, the interesting thing for what we are doing is, and that's where I kind of different from, but also complementary to the people currently in the Employee Engagement Awards team, inside and outside, jury members and experts, is that I look at this engagement straight in the eyes, meaning that very often we talk about how can we get people engaged, but generally we talk about how can we get engaged people even more engaged. But I'm really into helping how to address the famous 85% of people who think like, why do we take part in a competition? Why should I do this? So basically what we call the toxic or the skepticals and so on. And basically what we find is that there is a lot of loyalty and engagement in these people, but not in the way that it is currently being done. So the question always is loyalty and engagement, is that because people say, yes, yes, go, 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 go? Or is it the people who say like, no, we can do better? So the question is how much loyalty is there in the people who say, no, I don't want to take part in this because I think we can do better? Or is it, no, we should all do this? And see, it means that loyalty can mean two things. It can say yes to what is going on, but it can also mean say no to what is going on from a real concern. And what we found is basically that 100% of the people are loyal in either or the two boxes. So the 85% who are disengaged are also loyal to the company. If not, they would not be working there. But the problem is that they have given up on the company and the people in the way that things are being done. And then they think that it's more interesting to engage in planning their next holiday next year than in collaborating within the context of the projects. So that is where I kind of situate myself. So I look into disengagement and I look into time. And so how can we instantly kind of get into a conversation with these people and turn their attitude, but also their willingness and readiness to contribute around. And that's from an interactional viewpoint. Does that make sense?
Amazing. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. You got me intrigued, of course, about a year ago with all your studies and all your nutty professor things.
Yeah.
But I truly believe in what you say. I totally get it. Now it will be the point. Okay, how can we get that to the work floor? How can we train people in that, and how can we tune it from professor to reality? Because how difficult you think it is, because you of course work from a scientific point of view in the ideal probably context. How difficult do you think it is to, let's say, to apply your theory on the work floor?
Well, it's not a theory, it's a reality. So the reality is that the starting point is where we both are right now, is that there is a lot of positive energy in disengaged people. That is the starting point. So we talk not about the 15% who is already positive because, they're going to work. It's about the people where, there's a huge potential there. And it's about the belief that these people are positive. But the point is we didn't get it out of them. So how are we going to pull this out of their, how can we get these people into motion? Maybe first what I want to emphasize is that there are at this point two, let's say like 4 different approaches to looking at employee engagement right now, and they're all strategic by nature, and that's also what their weakness is. It's their strength and weakness. And let me explain that. So when we look at employee experience today, most people, it is either from, let's say, an HR perspective, where we say like, individually, did the onboarding go well? Does the exit go well? We do 1 time per year a survey. Do you like your boss? Do you like the relations? Do you like the environment? See, and that is basically from an HR perspective, very high view, and that's really good. Keep doing that. And so, but that is basically at specific points in time. It's very high level, very strategic, and okay, so it's not really like continuous and perpetual monitoring of people. So the second group of people is like CEO type of people, like strategic management, and they look at engagement like, hey, we have projects going on, innovations going on. Is everybody on board? So is everybody working on the projects that we find important? So that is not HR. HR is focused on the people, but you know, the management is very high level focused on the contribution to the projects. Now there's another group of people, and for instance, Karin, who you spoke to earlier, she's very into the individual. So you don't look at it from a management perspective, from an individual perspective. You know, are they staying? Are they positive? Are they loyal? Are they striving? So we're gonna look into the psychodynamics or the psychological dynamics and the behavioral dynamics of individuals. But that is also like a really strong focus on the individual. Other people, also by the way, who I met in your new young generation team.
Next
gen, for instance, like, you know, from a supervisor perspective, what do people want? How do people want to interact? How can we help them? What are their preferences for engagement? How can we support them? So that is more like from a, not like strategic level, but more from an enablement perspective and so on. So basically it means that we have four perspectives, the HR view on it, the CEO view on it, the individual view on it, so the individual coach perspective, and the supervisor perspective. But all of those are not really going into the nitty-gritty daily engagement. So what we call the grounded or the DNA of engagement is simply sitting next to someone and saying like, have you done something positive today for someone? It's basically conversational in nature. So it says like, you know, what did you do today where you thought like, where you put the best of yourself? Where is that? And that approach is never taken in employee engagement so far. And so we study employee engagement always like from entities and objectives, but not from a day-to-day conversational view, like, you know, have a coffee and so what is it that you did today? What was positive? And second is, had you expected some behavior from other people, or what is behavior from other people that you really, really liked, where you think like, well, that was really the best in others. And, or I had hoped that they had done something for me because I was really in need. And see, so the things that my goals, the things that I need to achieve, it would have been great if others could have helped me with that. But on a day-to-day basis. So basically conversational. And what we do is create the digital tools to have exactly this conversation on a day-to-day basis. So really, stay away far from the strategic interest in employee engagement, but really go into the day-to-day usefulness of it and the day-to-day enactment, as we say, like, does it come to stage like actors? Is it being enacted? Can you see it? Can you on a day-to-day basis? And that is what we focus on. And so basically it always starts with asking for people's positive behavior. It doesn't say like, well, these are the goals of engagement. And so now is the behavior in line with that? No, we start the other way around. What is your behavior? And can we make some sense out of it so that the company can benefit from it? So the starting point is all behavior. And so it doesn't exclude, like for instance, what companies often do is like, we have a value set and we expect these types of behaviors, but that is all kind of imposing. And the problem is that most people in the world know what they're doing. And so you simply ask them like, what did you do? And so people then generally answer and say like, well, I got up this morning at 7 o'clock in the morning because I know there is a colleague who at 9 o'clock has to do a presentation. And I just thought like, I'm going to go to work early this morning and I'm going to help make some photocopies or, you know, prepare the PowerPoint for this person. Period. So people say, this is what I did today. This is the good that I did today to help someone out. And this is what I call engagement. It's like getting up at 7 o'clock or 6:30 rather than 7 o'clock. And so, and now the CEO says like, yeah, but you know, yeah, this is not engagement. This is just work. Well, the moment you do that, you insult your people. And so the point is that person got up this morning earlier than differently. And so that is where this engagement starts. That is that people are not acknowledged in the tiny little things that they do, that they put high energy behind, that they put their family back for work, and that basically no one sees. And that is also not really exciting. Now, the interesting thing is what we then do in this digital conversation is now, well, thank you for getting up this early. So we have this, you know, this conversation with people. And then, of course, we ask them like, from a CEO perspective, how should I have to positively assess or appraise this behavior of you? And because basically the CEO doesn't see this. He says like, well, this is just, and then of course this person will say like, well, you know, what I basically did is I contributed to a better presentation of my colleague. And by doing so, we made a better impression on the people outside the company who attended that presentation. And by doing so, actually, you know, my engagement actually led to these results for the company. So the point is that basically from the behavior, we start to kind of add layers of sense making so that basically this behavior grows to be more important to the business. But we start from it like bottom up. And basically this approach works with all the employees, not just the engaged employees, because the engaged employees say like, oh, the goals of the company, let's go for it. But the disengaged people don't go for the goals of the company. They do what they believe is right from a loyal perspective. So they act loyally on a day-to-day basis, but we need to help them see the company, what they are doing. And so we need to help make their behavior transparent. And that is basically what we do. Now, the interesting thing is, if, of course, the behavior that people say is so positive doesn't really contribute to higher goals, then we need to stimulate these people, of course, to make different types of behaviors. So actually, by going into this conversation with them to look at their behavior from different perspectives, they actually start to see themselves that their own behaviors might not be the best behaviors for the company, see? And so that basically the time and energy that they have could have been spent a little better. And so basically this serves two purposes. It serves the purpose of the business to acknowledge and see all the good stuff that happens in their organization. But second, it serves the individual to actually not just think from a little task-oriented view and look at their own behavior, but to learn to look at their behavior from a bigger picture, which of course then will stimulate them to become more contributive, because everybody wants to do the behaviors that make them successful, create their own legacy within the company, and so on. So this is it.
Amazing, Olaf. So that's the reason why you are one of the coaches, one of our amazing coaches, one of the 5. Yeah, it was very interesting. Can't wait to start working with you in the Employee Engagement Awards. Yeah, it's going to be great to see how your knowledge can be used to help all these companies, because that's the role of the coach, to help all these companies write their cases and think about employee engagement and reflect on it and see where they can improve and where they can share amazing insights with you and with others to finally convince, obviously, the jury. And then we'll see how the jury will react. Yeah.
What you say is really cool. So what I see as my role is basically be the mirror at the downside of the organization, so that all the people and coaches who are making a high-end case, like we as a company are engaged and these are the great projects and goals that we pursue, you need a lot of data from how do all these initiatives really live on a day-to-day basis in the in the chambers, in the machinery, in the machine room of your Titanic. And because you're just running your Titanic, employee engagement, but there's a lot of people down there deep in the ship under the waterline who are doing the work, and we don't have enough data. So what we do is through conversation, we generate continuously on a day-to-day basis, we produce these conversations. And so the sense that people make out of their own behaviors, but also the sense that people make out of the programs and objectives that are being bombarded on them from the top. And so it is an amazing, it creates a kind of a mechanism to keep pulsing the organization, and then of course feed into the employee engagement strategies and programs. There we go.
Thank you so much, Olaf. I'm going to stop you there, because otherwise you're going to give free consulting to the whole world. Looking forward to working with you on the awards, and talk to you soon.
That's what we're going to do. Bye-bye. Cheers.